Welcome back for another episode of Growing Sweet Banana Peppers from Seeds. It's day 63. It's the finale episode of this plant growing series. As you can see, I have a new problem. There's a carpet of mold bloom. It's a bluish gray mold that I've never seen before. It's really disgusting, and it covers mostly the mango seed smoothie that dried out into a crust. But that hasn't happened for the other plant growing series. So overall, I'd say the mango seed smoothie idea is a great free idea for organic fertilization. Mango seeds are very rich, and that provides for a lot of nutrients. After you blend them, that high surface area to volume ratio of the particles enables microbes such as mold and other fungi to break everything down really quickly and get the nutrients to your plants. So that deformation in the leaf on top is likely a carryover artifact of bad times from the first 60 days where the plant was malnourished. So it's growing very, very slowly in a stunted fashion. But it seems to be accelerating growth, this entire plant. It's got a lot of bud activity, it's going to fork and so on. So I see good things happening going forward. And that's what happens when you water this moldy mess. A cloud of spores flies out. Luckily for me, first time I did this, it seems like the wind currents favored the mold spores just wafting out away from me over the balcony rail. So at least most of that didn't get on me. So on day 68, you can see that it doesn't look, it pretty much looks as gross as it did before. So I don't know how I'm going to deal with this problem. That looks like something you would find on something in a Ziploc bag indoors that was soaking in water, like a wet sandwich or something that's just been sitting in a drawer or something for 3 weeks indoors. Not something you would expect to see outdoors. Mold like this typically doesn't happen outdoors on stuff like this, but then again, who pours mango seed smoothies on top of the soil for fertilization? So I'm watering again, and once again this cloud of spores flies off. So I'm just going to hold my breath and duck back into the living room, wait for things to settle down and dilute and blow away after I'm done watering here. So I wonder how long I'm going to have to put up with this. It's not something I'd want to deal with day after day. So it's day 72, and as you can see, there are flower buds. So it's a nice development, and the top seems to have forked. Seems like the plant is going to get a lot taller and also bushier as well, and you can see other newer, fresher buds there as well. And a jumping spider, these things seem to be skipping frames when they move. They have hydraulic joints, which are very powerful and very fast, kind of like wolf spiders and many other species of spider. So it's moving in a stuttering fashion. Truth is, it's moving so fast that our eyes and the camera can't detect a lot of those frames in between. So it seems like it's sort of a broken slideshow, or like a computer program that's running with memory leak or something like that. So it just kind of stutter steps all over the place faster than your eyes can detect. It's an interesting spider. I haven't seen one of these for many years. Typically, I don't ever encounter these in San Diego. Can't even remember the last time I've seen one of these in the American Southwest. We have a lot of other spiders. Indoor spiders typically are daddy long legs. So I don't know why this spider is patrolling my plant. It looks like, well, we see a few threads of silk. I don't know if that's from the spider or from spider mites. And every time I ask that question, it always turns out to be spider mites. So on day 77, third time I water, I decided I'd have a running vacuum tube and stay at a distance and do this. Now I know there's a risk that I might suck in some water and get the filter bag inside wet, but as long as you keep your distance from the water spray and don't have the vacuum inhale too much water, you'll be fine. It's a good insurance policy just in case watering like this kicked up another cloud of mold spores. But it seems like by the third time the problem was solved. With a lot of baking in the sun and a lot of the spores had already flown off. It seems like the problem, the worst of it, is finally over, and I'm really glad for that, because every time I dealt with a cloud of mold spores like that, I felt like I had to take a shower right afterwards, because if it blows the wrong way, it'll probably just get all over your skin, your clothes, and whatnot. So yeah, you probably won't feel clean for the rest of the day until you take a shower after that. So, problem solved, I guess. And now I can water freely and watch this plant accelerate in growth. It's day 82. Seems like the leaves are still sort of droopy, which is disappointing. There are some threads of gossamer silk, as you can see. Don't know if those are from spiders or spider mites. A lot of these small leaves on the bottom are underdeveloped, but they're all largely irrelevant now. They have long petioles. This plant doesn't get full sun. It gets 4 hours of 4.5 maybe a day of morning sun. And it's got flowers, beautiful little white flowers. They're not very big, especially compared to the size of the leaves. But as I'll show you in a few seconds, they're beautiful in their own right. And we got a lot more flower buds coming on the way. A lot of the new leaves look healthy, so I'm glad for that. We can give this a spin so we can check the flowers out at a different angle. But I have the feeling that this plant's going to get a lot taller. See a fungus gnat there. Those aren't really a bother anymore. Their numbers have drastically decreased since I started blasting my balcony plants with pyrethrins every few weeks. So some of these leaves do look a little yellow mottled, and I'm pretty sure that some spider mites flew over on strands of silk from the raspberry plant in the background, which now has this yellow-green tint to it. It looks quite unhealthy compared to how it was before. So that's like ground zero for this spider mite Armageddon. And if any of you have ever dealt with spider mites, I'm sure you'll agree that it's one of the most devastating infestations you can have. And not all insecticides, chemical insecticides, work on them as well, but pyrethrins seem to work even though they're not insects. They're more arachnids. But pyrethrins can kill those and spiders too, I think. So the flowers, they look pretty good. We'll get a closer look. There's a little bit of purple on the inside, and as you can see, there are other buds that are pretty prominent at the nodes. The stems and the nodes have these purple tinges to them, so it's makes for a very attractive plant. The flowers unfortunately face down. I don't know what the purpose of that is, but I guess since the peppers are going to grow from them, maybe they'll just kind of droop downwards, and that's more mechanically stable. So it's hard to film these flowers up close in macro detail, but you can see there's beautiful hints of purple in there, and 6 simple but elegant white petals that are pointy at the ends. So I've seen some bees come and feed on these every day, and I'm sure the pollination is getting done, whether or not it's needed. So we'll see what happens. I'm expecting good things in the weeks to come, although realistically you've already seen the thumbnail for this and guessed that I got to the finish line. I consider getting fruit for any fruiting vegetable or herb or plant to be a hallmark of success, essentially the finish line for a plant growing series. And this may be one of my last plant growing series, and by that I don't mean I'm ending the channel or anything. It just means for the time being I see myself doing something different. I'm going to do some more indoor growing, which I haven't done since 2014, but I'll just compile footage for maybe a month or two of various things that I'm growing in artificial conditions and watch the development of the root systems, which I think is also very exciting. And there will be far less problems indoors compared to what I've experienced in just the 2 to 3 months out here on this balcony in the new apartment. It'll be a welcome change. No bugs, no parasites indoors, just non-stop growth that's easily observable. Granted, it won't be under the beauty of natural sunlight, which I love filming under. As you can see here on day 103, after I got back from a very long vacation, this plant really shot up. And after being gone for 2 weeks, and it's been maybe 3 weeks since the last filming, you can see 5 of these yellow banana peppers that are mostly curly. That one looks more like Chili's logo, and up there you can see a deformed one that's under the 5th one, the highest one. So it's already harvest time, but a lot of these leaves are droopy. I haven't watered in 2 weeks. You can see the raspberry plant in the back, completely croaked. That's because of spider mite infestation, I think. Not just solely due to the fact that that was a very thirsty plant and in a small volume of soil. I think the sweet banana pepper also greatly suffered from a spider mite infestation, and I saw strands of silk and I saw adult spider mites on this plant. So as you can see, the carpet and mold problem is completely gone. I could just pour water on with abandon, and it seems like the whole pot is dry, but with this entire 1.5 liters of water going in, I think everything will be rehydrated with maybe just one more watering, and then I'll be filling the watering tray even. So this plant actually doesn't use a lot of water relative to how big the leaves are. I would have expected it to be much thirstier, but I think a lot of that leaf droop and malaise at the bottom of this plant is basically due to spider mite infestation, and I'll show you why. I think that with some evidence later, but for the time being, this mango seed smoothie layer, this crust, has become very porous, like it has with all the other pots, and water absorption is basically really fast. So on day 107, I got some morning sun to film this in, and the leaves obscure a lot of the banana peppers, but as you can see, the plant's gotten really tall. It looks relatively healthy towards the top, but again, there's a lot of droopiness in the leaves. So the previous day, on day 106, I blasted everything on this balcony with pyrethrins because I saw lots of spider mites on this plant. As you can see, I'll show you that leaf that we just passed by in detail later. There are tons and tons of spider mites, and just on this one leaf alone. So there are other bugs as well. So when I spray this pyrethrin blast, I just close the sliding door pretty soon thereafter, so I don't have to get that smell or breathe that in indoors, although most of it is projected towards beyond the balcony. So as you can see, there are a lot more peppers on the way and a lot more flower buds on the way, so we'll get a lot of peppers, but I'm just going to end this series here. I reached the finish line. I got peppers, whereby the 60-day mark for the previous episode, I wasn't quite sure where this was going. I had a reasonable chance of success, but it turns out, despite the spider mite infestation, we got there anyway, despite not watering for 2 weeks while on vacation. And just the act of setting this pot down to get a better view caused one of these big old leaves to snap off. So this thing is in a precarious state, and I don't think it was due to dehydration. You can see evidence of spider mite infestation all over this fruit and all the others as well. So I think the spider mites really got the best of everything, and the pyrethrin sprays dropped so many of these things, maybe 10,000 or more, tens of thousands of those little buggers perished overnight and dropped down. So they do fall off the leaves after you spray. That's it for this plant growing series. Thank you for watching, and I hope you'll enjoy my future content.